In 1975, an engineer at Eastman Kodak named Steven Sasson built a camera that did not use film. It weighed 8 pounds. It recorded a single black and white image onto a digital cassette tape. The resolution was 100 pixels by 100 pixels, and it took 23 seconds to save one photograph. Sasson took it to his managers. They looked at it. They asked him how long before this technology could match the quality of a color print. He said 15 to 20 years. They told him that was fine, but he was not to show it to anyone outside the company. They did not want the world to know that film was going to die. That meeting is the hinge of the entire story. In 1975, Kodak employed over 100,000 people. It held 90% of the American film market and 85% of the American camera market. It was the fourth most valuable brand in the world. Its margins on film were extraordinary. A roll of film cost Kodak pennies to manufacture and sold for dollars, and every roll had to be developed, and Kodak sold the chemicals too. The entire business model depended on a single physical object that people used once and then paid Kodak again to process. And now an engineer in the company's own laboratory had shown that the physical object was not necessary. Hold that fact. The company that owned the film market was the first company on Earth to prove that film could be replaced. Here is the ground we are going to cover. What Kodak actually did with the digital technology it invented, which was not nothing. How it spent 2 decades preparing for a transition it ultimately refused to make. The specific decisions, 3 of them, where the company had a clear path to survival and chose not to take it. And the numbers at the end, which are the kind of numbers that make an accounting professor stop and stare. Sasson's prototype was the beginning, but Kodak did not ignore digital technology after that first meeting. It spent enormous sums on digital research through the 1980s. It built some of the earliest digital cameras sold commercially. It held more than 1,000 patents in digital imaging. By the early 1990s, Kodak understood digital photography better than any company in the world, because Kodak had been studying it longer than any company in the world. The problem was never knowledge, the problem was money. Film was the most profitable product Kodak had ever made. A single roll generated margins above 60%. The chemicals and paper for developing generated margins almost as high, and customers came back. A family that bought a camera bought film for years, sometimes decades. Every birthday, every holiday, every vacation was another 3 or 4 rolls. The phrase used inside the company was a razor and blades business, except the blades were more profitable than any razor blade ever made. Hold that margin, 60% on film, it explains everything that followed. In 1981, Kodak commissioned an internal study on the future of digital photography. The report, which became known inside the company as the Vince Report after its lead author, concluded that digital photography would replace film, that the replacement would begin in the professional market and move to consumers, and that the crossover point was roughly 10 years away. It recommended that Kodak begin investing in digital manufacturing capacity immediately. The study was accurate. The timeline was almost exactly right. The report was read, discussed, and shelved. Kodak increased its investment in film manufacturing. Between 1985 and 1995, the company built or expanded film production facilities in Rochester, in Harrow in England, in Chalon-sur-Saône in France, and in Xiamen in China. Each facility was designed to produce film for 20 to 30 years. The total capital expenditure on film production in that decade exceeded $3 billion. Remember that figure. $3 billion on factories to make a product the company's own internal report had said was dying. In 1994, Kodak had a second opportunity. Apple released the QuickTake 100, one of the first consumer digital cameras. It was manufactured by Kodak. Kodak built the sensor, built the electronics, assembled the unit, and sold it to Apple at wholesale. The QuickTake was a success. Kodak could have put its own name on a version of the same product and entered the digital consumer market 5 years ahead of any serious competitor. It did not. The reason, stated explicitly in board documents that later became public during the bankruptcy proceedings, was that a Kodak digital camera would accelerate the decline of Kodak film. The board calculated that every dollar of digital camera revenue would destroy approximately $4 of film and processing revenue. The mathematics of self-disruption were clear, and nobody disputed them. The board decided that the prudent course was to protect the existing business. By 2003, the math had changed, but not the way the board had hoped. Film revenue was falling at 10 to 15% a year. Digital cameras were selling faster than film cameras had ever sold. Sony, Canon, Nikon, and Samsung had all entered the market. Kodak's patents, which should have been an insurmountable advantage, were being licensed to competitors for modest royalties. The company that had invented the technology was now watching other companies profit from it. In 2004, Kodak was removed from the Dow Jones Industrial Average, where it had sat for more than 70 years. In 2005, the company that had 90% of the American film market reported that digital cameras, the product it had invented 30 years earlier, now outsold film cameras worldwide. Kodak's share of the digital camera market was roughly 4%. In 2007, with film revenue in free fall, Kodak hired a new chief executive named Antonio Perez. Perez came from Hewlett-Packard. He understood digital products. He announced a strategy called the digital transformation, and it was built on a reasonable idea. Kodak would pivot from film to digital printing. Inkjet printers, commercial printing presses, digital photo kiosks. The technology existed, the brand recognition existed, and the printing market was large enough to support a company of Kodak's size. The problem was timing. By 2007, the company had already spent through most of its reserves defending the film business. It had closed factories, laid off tens of thousands of workers, and taken on debt. The pivot to digital printing needed capital that no longer existed. And the competitors in digital printing, Hewlett-Packard and Canon and Xerox, had been building their positions for a decade while Kodak was still selling film. Perez tried. The company launched consumer inkjet printers with a novel business model. The printers were priced at normal retail, but the ink was sold cheaply, the inverse of the industry standard. It was the razors and blades model again, except this time Kodak was giving away the blades and trying to profit on the razor. The printers sold modestly. The ink did not generate enough margin. By 2011, the printing division was losing money. Here are the final numbers. In 1996, the peak, Kodak had a market capitalization of $31 billion. It employed over 140,000 people. Its Rochester campus alone had 60,000 workers, making it the largest private employer in the state of New York outside Manhattan. In January 2012, Kodak filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Its market capitalization at that point was approximately $150 million. It had fewer than 8,000 employees. The Rochester campus was largely empty. The company sold its patent portfolio, the 12,000-plus patents that included the foundational inventions in digital photography, for $525 million. The buyers were a consortium of technology companies. Among them was Apple, which had sold Kodak's own digital camera under its own name 18 years earlier. $525 million for the patents, $31 billion at the peak. The difference is what it cost Kodak to be right about the future and refuse to act on it. Steven Sasson, the engineer who built the prototype in 1975, remained at Kodak for his entire career. He retired in 2009. In 2012, the year Kodak filed for bankruptcy, the National Inventors Hall of Fame inducted him for the invention of the digital camera. The company that told him not to show anyone was not in a position to celebrate. Sources: Steven Sasson, Oral History Interview, Lemelson Center, Smithsonian Institution. We Knew Film Was Dead, Harvard Business Review Retrospective. Eastman Kodak Company Bankruptcy Filings, Western District of New York, 2012. Kodak Internal Technology Forecast, Vince Report, 1981, partially published via Bankruptcy Discovery. Securities and Exchange Commission Annual Filings, Eastman Kodak Co., 1996 through 2011. Henry Wilhelm and Carol Brower, The Permanence and Care of Color Photographs, 1993. Chunkamui, How Kodak Failed, Forbes, 18 January 2012.